Well, we found out, like most of us already knew this, most people with common sense and critical thinking skills already knew that the Jussie Smollett story was a hoax. But we found out that it's even worse than we thought. I know it's worse than I could even have imagined. I originally thought that, of course, that he just made the story up and that he tied the rope around his neck, got a Subway sandwich, and went home. That's what I thought. But we found out that it's more elaborate than that. That Jussie went through the trouble of hiring people and paying them and rehearsing and actually putting this plot together, the attack together. Now, we found out that the two people that were on this video footage, the two silhouettes basically, turned out to be two Nigerian brothers. The two brothers were friends basically with Jussie Smollett. They had been on the Empire set with him as an extra. They were social media friends with him or whatever. So this whole thing was put together. I mean, this was an elaborate hoax. And I to this day, I mean, since I've been, the more I hear, the more I just can't imagine what would make him want to do that. That's my question. Why would Jussie want to do that? What made him do that? So we've heard stories of that Jussie thought that he was going to get written off of the show Empire. But Fox has come out and said that's not true. Fox has come out and said that they had no intentions of writing him off the show. So if that's the case, what other reason would Jussie have to put together an elaborate hoax like this? Why would he do this? There have been other reports that, okay, so in the beginning, I did hear something about he supposedly got these threatening letters. I don't know, I think it was on the set of Empire or whatever, but and some white substance, powder stuff. Someone said it turned out to be baby powder or whatever. But the people on the set didn't take it seriously enough. I've heard reports that because people did not take the threatening letters seriously on his life, that he was getting threatened or whatever. So maybe that's why he put this. He just took it further and said, okay, well, I'll just, put together an attack that that's a proof that my life is at risk. But when the authorities searched the Nigerian brothers' apartment, they found magazines where these letters had been cut out. You've seen in movies where people have sent threatening letters to people and they cut out letters out of a magazine to spell whatever it is they're spelling. Well, they said they found those magazines with the cutouts in them in the Nigerian brothers' apartment. So if that's the case, that still doesn't explain why, I guess, Jussie wanted people to think that his life was at risk. That's not explaining that either. So, but one thing I will say is ever since President Trump has been elected, the media have pushed this narrative that, hate crimes is going to be on the rise. So they put that out there. The hate crimes are going to be on the rise. But to this day, there has not been one legitimate hate crime that's been done. I mean, there's been a lot of them reported, but they've all been hoaxes. Every one of them. Not one has. And when I ask this question, when someone else posed the question to other people, name just one hate crime that has happened. They say hate crime is on the rise. No one can answer. They have started talking about Emmett Till, which happened almost 60 years ago. The fact that they have to go way back there to prove a legitimate one happens, that proves how far we have progressed in this country. If you have to go back 60 years or you have to make up a hoax, then that proves that we've progressed, we've gotten past all this hate crime stuff. Every hate crime that's been reported in the past, you have to excuse my voice because I'm still trying to recover from the flu. Every hate crime that's been reported since President Trump has been elected has turned out to be a hoax. Now, you may not have heard about all of them because they were not high profile like Jussie Smollett's was. But the thing about it is the media did report on these. These were at local, different places, local news, and then some of it creeped up, over into the national news. But what they did was they reported on them, but as soon as they came out to be a hoax, they just kept going. They just didn't say anything else about it. So they left the impression in people's minds that it actually happened. They couldn't do that with Jussie. They wish they could have. They wish they could have swept this under the rug, but they couldn't because he's such a high-profile person, and everybody was talking about it on social media, YouTube, so they couldn't sweep it under the rug. So what they've done now, the media has downplayed their own role in reporting this hoax. They're saying stuff like, well, no serious journalist ever, come on, no serious journalist believed this actually happened. They're saying that. Or they're coming back with this saying, well, this might be a hoax, but that does not take away the fact that these things are happening. There are hate crimes happening. But that's not true either, because every hate crime that has been reported since President Trump has been elected has turned out to be a hoax. Now, I'm just going to list a few of them, and I'll put every one of these articles in the description under this video, so you'll be able to make sure you read these, because these are important, so you'll know, because you might not have even heard about them. But it just shows the length people are going through to be a victim, because once once the media sent it out, there's going to be a rise in hate crimes since President Trump got elected. People that want to be victims decide to go out and create them, which tells you how far we've progressed in this country if you have to create your own hate crime. Okay, let's start with a church in Mississippi. A black church in Mississippi, had Trump written on it and racial slurs and KKK written on it. When come to find out, it was one of the black members of that church that did that. A black lady car was set on fire and a brick was thrown through the window of the car, and KKK and Trump was written on it. And when they investigated it, they found out her own boyfriend did it for whatever reason. He was maybe they were fighting or whatever. But he did it. A black Air Force cadet at the Air Force Academy reported that people were writing racial slurs on his dorm room door, and on his dorm and all that. And they investigated that and found out he was the one writing the racial slurs on his own doors. A black leader, president of a local NAACP, reported that he got pulled over by the cops. It was a routine traffic stop. He reported that he was profiled. He claimed that the police officer said to him, because he was driving a new car, and he said that the police officer basically wanted to know what he was doing driving such a nice car, and the neighborhood that the man said he lived in. He said the white police officer is like, sure, you live there, basically. If you live there, and my name is Bill Gates. Like he didn't believe him. He racially profiled him because he was black. So when the body cam footage came out, none of that happened. None of that, all the things that the NAACP president has said happened, never happened. A white lesbian woman claimed that she was attacked, brutally beat up because she was a lesbian, and come to find out she had attacked herself. She had beat up herself and dragged herself through the floors of her house and just did all these things to herself, cut herself, whatever, bruised herself. And she did it all to herself. No one did that to her. And I can go on and on with stories like that really never happened. People did it to themselves. So you say, well, what is going on? So that is what I'm getting at. What makes the media keep falling for these things? I know that they want it to happen because they put the message out that, hey, the hate crimes are going to go up under Trump. But when it doesn't happen, when someone reports one, it's a hoax. And so how many times are they going to fall for this? I mean, are they going to move on from Jussie to the next hoax? I mean, they just got an egg on their face with the Covington high school kids and that Native American man. So is this going to continue? Is this going to continue? We've reached a time in this country, in the world, but in this country where we're not going to be able to, we can no longer, people, we can no longer trust what we are told, what we're fed. We can no longer believe the politicians. We can no longer believe the media. We can no longer even believe the pastors of your churches. We can't do that, and we can take the information that we get from them, and then we're going to have to think for ourselves and do our own research, because the days are gone where you can believe people. But there's two things. There's a negative and a positive to this situation that we're in right now. The negative is that we can't believe anybody anymore. I don't care who it is. But the positive is we don't have to, because we have the internet. We have sources that we can go and check. If a politician says something to us, we can do like people are doing with Kamala Harris now and other politicians. We can go and research their record and say this person is lying because their record says the opposite of what they claim. If a pastor is preaching you something, telling you something in your own church, if he's quoting the scripture, you go home and read the entire chapter. Don't stick with just that scripture. You're going to have to start thinking for yourself. If the media tells you something, you know you're gonna have to go and research it yourselves, people. Because if we don't, this society is going to be ripped apart. It's going to be ripped apart based on lies, people. We can no longer do that. Now, even the hate crime itself, and I'll finish with this because I'm losing my voice. Even the hate crime bill itself, some of it is based on a lie. Now, the hate crime bill was in reference to two hate crimes. Now, I got to say, one of the hate crimes that they report that they use for this hate crime bill, which the hate crime bill is an extension of another bill, but President Obama signed the hate crime bill in 2009 as an extension to an original hate crime bill based on two hate crimes that were committed in 1998. Now, one of the incidents was an actual hate crime. It was Mr. James Byrd. In Texas, he was chained, a black guy was chained to the back of a truck by two white nationalists and dragged to his death. And they got the death penalty for that. So that was an actual hate crime in 1998. But the other person that they used for the hate crime bill was a young man named Matthew Shepard. He was a gay young man in Wyoming who was pistol whipped and set on fire and hung on a fence to die by two other guys. But the narrative of why he was killed was because they claimed because he was killed and targeted because he was a gay man. But that was not the case. The two young men that were charged in his death, one of the young men knew him and had been had sexual relations with him prior to this event even taking place. So, but what the real reason was for that this incident happened, and it was horrific, and not taken away from the crime itself. It was a horrible crime, but it was due to drugs. And how all this came to light was another gay man, a white man that wanted to do a documentary or a play and write a book about this incident. He was doing research, and he had no idea he was going to find this out because that was not what he set out to do. He just simply wanted to do a project about what happened with Mr. Matthew Shepard. He interviewed over 100 local people in that town, and he found out because everybody in the town knew the facts. Isn't that something? Everybody in the town knew the facts of why Mr. Shepard was killed. It had nothing to do with him being gay. It was due to drugs. Mr. Shepard, Mr. Matthew Shepard, the young man, was a drug addict. He was also HIV positive at the time of his death. But the crime had nothing to do with him being gay. The crime had to do with drugs because the guys thought that he had a lot of drugs on him or whatever because it was a drug epidemic going on. I think they said it was meth in that town. And so it had in the trial it came out that it had something, all it had to do with was drugs. Him being gay, Ellen DeGeneres jumped in it. So as soon as he died, this young man, and then they found out that he was gay, the media got busy with the narrative that he was killed and targeted because he was gay. And then Ellen DeGeneres jumped in it, And then so and it just took off. Well, when this white guy, he was a white gay guy, did his discovery and then tried to report on it and write a book about it, of course he got shut down and blackballed and blacklisted because the media didn't want their lie to get out. That it was not, because I mean, they championed this law based on the fact that it was supposed to be hate crime, homophobic hate crime. So I just wanted to touch on that today. I just wanted to let you know that even the hate crime bill was partially built on a lie. There are no hate crimes going on. And if they are, I want someone to tell me, and don't talk about Mr. Emmett Till. Yeah, that was horrible what happened to him. But that's 60-some years ago. And then don't try to conflate police brutality with a hate crime, people. That's another thing people say, well, police brutality. Well, whether or not it's actually police brutality or not, that can be, that gets taken care of in the court system, people. We're talking about civilians. We're talking about civilians that's committing hate crimes against other civilians. We're not talking about what the police officers do. You can't. So the fact that you try to use police officers or talk about something happened 60 years ago as proof that hate crimes are going on against minorities, against gay people, proves that it's not going on, people. And if we don't start thinking for ourselves and start doing our own research and stop letting people inflame our emotions, we're going to get into some kind of civil war, a race war based on a lie. We're going to tear our society, our cities, our communities apart based on a lie, people. That's all I want to say. Let's quit believing all these lies. Let's do our own research. Let's start thinking for ourselves. And I'm so proud of social media platforms like YouTube where we get actual news. Have a blessed day.